All right, let's begin with our stock of the day. It is the building materials company James Hardie. Now, the company's board has ousted Chief Executive Jack Trong after an inquiry found he'd acted inappropriately. The company, though, has emphasised while the style was inconsistent with its global conduct code, that behaviour was not discriminatory. Harold Wines has been appointed as interim chief executive. Nonetheless, turbulence at the top worries investors. Its shares were sold off heavily at the open. They've since recovered, now off around 4%. Claude, was there perhaps a chance, if you had to get in quick though, to buy the dip though? But how are you looking at this stock in general?
I guess, generally speaking, today's news I consider like a mild positive. I think one of the problems that companies often have is that they'll have, 360 review style processes where every employee puts out, answers survey questions about how they're finding their work and all that kind of thing. And I think one of the problems sometimes organizations have is that if there's a problem at the very top, then they don't have a mechanism to actually implement that or force change. And I guess what James Hardie, it would appear, have shown with today's announcement is that, there's no one's above the rules. No, everybody has to play nice. And if the CEO is the person that, they judge based on feedback from other employees is actually the one that's making people unhappy, then the CEO will go. And that's probably what you want to see in this sort of large company kind of setup. And so I wouldn't see it as too much of a negative at all. Having said that, just sort of generally speaking, I don't find James Hardie a particularly attractive option. It's a large cap sort of dividend paying company that, doesn't have heaps of organic growth and is a cyclical business. So that doesn't really suit what I'm looking for, because I'm looking for stuff that has long-term secular tailwinds, so that time is very much on my side. And the reason I don't like more cyclical businesses is because if you have a recession and you personally might be seeing heaps of opportunities, well, the stock that is a cyclical business is going to be right down at its lows in that recession when there are so many opportunities. So they go down with the rest of everything. So if I do want to buy something cyclical, I want it to be a completely uncorrelated cycle, which obviously building's very correlated with the overall economy.
Yeah, very much so. So, but would it be a hold though? I guess not for you, but for others that are holding it.
Yeah, for the father-in-law kind of investor who's got it as a long-term kind of blue chip that gives them a bit of exposure in a diversified portfolio. Yeah, sure. I'd call it a hold.
Okay, Luke, how are you feeling about James Hardie?
That's an interesting, take there from Claude, and I think he's got a very good point, because James Hardie's performed really well. I mean, not just from an operational point of view, but also from a share market point of view over the last, few years since the CEO's been in place. So it takes, it's a big decision by the board to do something like this, and they've pointed out there was no illegalities to what he's done. He obviously just manages with a style that is aggressive, I suppose, and goes against the values that they're looking to put in. So it's a fair point. And I hadn't really considered that. So I actually agree with Claude that it does show some good strength at a board level to be able to move on from a CEO who has done quite well, particularly for shareholders, which, as Claude said, I think there'd be a lot of boards around there who probably wouldn't make that decision, even if some allegations had been brought to them. So interesting point of view, but I agree with that. Interesting. It also comes with an upgrade to their guidance, and not a small one either. Went from 580 to 600 million range up to 605 to 625. A good solid upgrade to their guidance. And so that move today goes to show that the market is was either pricing in that sort of result anyway, or they take the departure of the CEO to mean more, I suppose, than the upgrade. Look, my conclusion, I agree with Claude. It's not my sort of business. It trades on about 38 times earnings at the top end of that range. That's expensive for a cyclical business, and arguably you're on peak earnings as well coming out of COVID. There may be more legs to the cycle, but it's hard to step in and pay 38 times earnings where we are for a business like James Hardie. I would probably hold it if you're in there, but I probably couldn't step in and buy it today. Throw in some disruption at the executive level, obviously now, and that just sort of clouds that equation a little bit further. So hold, but I wouldn't be buying.